Well, it's Wednesday and it is midweek, and well, this is the program, the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions right here on Flow 94.9 FM. This is the flow of God's own state, and this is the platform where we take a critical look at issues as it affects our dear nation, Nigeria, and also as it affects our dear state, Abia State. Welcome to the platform. The program runs every Monday, every Wednesday, and also every Friday right here on Flow 94.9 FM. It is still part of our morning show. We call it Morning Spice right here on the flow of God's own state. My name is Michael Oni. If you've been on our Facebook this morning, you will have an idea of what we are talking about. Questions are already pouring in, and this morning we're looking at the Governor Ikpeazu's policy thrust on infrastructural development on the pinnacle of all discussions. And of course, we will be extraying the governor's policy thrust. And I do have joining me this morning the Honorable Commissioner for Works in Abia State, Barrister Bob Ogu. It's less than 3 years for Governor Ikpeazu to round off his 8-year tenure as the Chief Executive Officer of the state. And traditionally, the governor would be remembered for, among other things, the infrastructure stock he left behind vis-a-vis good roads, bridges, and benefiting operational office space within the time. So some questions we will be looking at this morning. What is happening with the new government house, the Abia Road, the much talked about Osisioma flyover, and so many other things. So the right man to answer all the questions is very much in the studio, Barrister Bob Ogu. Barrister, good morning to you and welcome to the platform.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm fine.
You have a very beautiful voice, and your station is fine.
Oh, thank you very much, Barrister. It seems it's your first time in the studios of Flow 94.9 FM.
Yes, this is my first time.
So you're welcome, and hope you are going to have a wonderful time. We hope so. So let's begin the conversation. A quick one, Barrister. Let's look at the policy thrust of Governor Ikpeazu as far as infrastructure development is concerned. When we talk about infrastructure, and if someone should come across you and stop you on the road and say, Barrister, what's going on with infrastructure in Abia State? What will be your immediate answer?
Well, my immediate answer is that the goal of this administration, Ikpeazu's administration, is to transform the infrastructure from the zero level where it was to at least above 70%.
From zero level
where it was to
where
at least 70%.
So right from when you started as the commissioner, when you got the job and the nod of the governor as the commissioner for works, what have you been able to do, and some ongoing projects? We want to highlight it before we go into specifics this morning.
Okay, when I came on board, when the governor granted me the privilege of working with him, I came on board. The first thing I did was to review all the ongoing projects. I discovered we had approximately 115 ongoing projects. And given the lean resources of the state, it wasn't able to fund all of them appropriately.
115 ongoing projects?
Yes, that's at the time I came in
different sectors?
Roads precisely.
Road precisely.
Yes, if you include that of the government house, that's adding one to it.
Okay.
So when I came, I took time and reviewed the status of each of those projects. And I made a proposal to His Excellency. Let's pick 22 first. See what we can do of these 22. And out of the 22 we picked, we have delivered a good number of them. Before the dry season came, we now decided to increase it to 62. So we have 62 active sites, and as we conclude any of them, we pick the ones that have already been awarded. So that's what we are doing.
62 active sites,
yes.
And it is ongoing at the time that the government is complaining about dwindling revenue. Are you able to finance this project, 62 active sites, appropriately?
Yes, let me say this. Yes, the times are hard, and I give kudos to His Excellency, how he manages to raise the funds. He's the only one that can explain it with the Commissioner for Finance, but I thank him for the much he has invested. If we had more resources, I'm sure that what would have done would have been transformational. But with the much we have, we are targeting certain hotspots, certain economic transformational roads to see that when these roads are completed, it will enhance the economy, it will increase the IGR coming to the government, and the government will have more funds to invest in infrastructure, particularly roads.
Okay, how do you go about giving out contracts in this dispensation within the year? You're about 2 years now. We're getting to 2 years you've been as a commissioner in Abia State. How do you go about giving out contracts?
There is a process that has been established even before I came.
Okay.
A bidding process. If you scope any road, you advertise on our notice board and the website of due process. People who are interested will apply. The bidders will be shortlisted. 3 most prominent bidders will be shortlisted and their proposals evaluated. It will be compared to the fixed price by the ministry.
Okay.
The one that has the competence and whose price is reasonable will be awarded that particular contract at the fixed price of the ministry.
At the price of the ministry.
Yes. Before I came, there was something I noticed. We had roads with different, how do I explain it, with different amounts attached to each of them. The governor gave me a directive that we should have an average of what it will cost to build a kilometer of road with drains on both sides, excluding where you have challenges. So we came with an average, and what we do now is any proposal we have, we work with that average. Now go to the field and check the challenges you have on that road, which could increase the amount of money that the contract will be awarded for. So it's no longer as it used to be, where you come and you think you can give a particular price and we don't have the mechanism to check what it ought to be.
Okay. Interesting. So have you awarded any contract right from has the ministry awarded contract or contracts right from the period you've been the commissioner of works in this state?
Yes, there are some contracts that have been awarded since I came on board, and it followed that same due process.
It followed this due process. Now the question where I'm headed now is, why awarding more contracts when you mentioned about some ongoing projects on ground that we had issues with revenue, we had issues financing them, and you advised the governor to stop some, at least suspend some for now because of revenue issues, and of course continue with 62 of them?
There are certain emergencies that you must confront when they come, particularly when it comes to roads. When a particular road fails, and you know that if you allow that situation to get worse, you don't have a choice but to handle it. So these are emergency situations. The ones we had are all ongoing projects.
Okay.
We try to streamline the ones we can do before we bring others on board. But while you're doing that, you also have to anticipate that could be some emergencies that you take care of. So when we have such a massive emergencies, we don't have a choice but to award new contracts.
Now, there was a time the governor complained about federal roads in the state, and that didn't go well with the opposition. The opposition came out and said, "We're talking about federal roads when the state roads are even not in good shape. What is the shape of the state roads? What are the states of the state roads that we have in the state?"
Well, for me, the opposition is there to always say what they have to say.
Maybe to keep the government in power in check.
Not being in check, to keep the government in power on its toes.
Okay.
Because they don't have the capacity to check anybody. They're not in power. So they are there to say what they ought to say. But the facts remain that I keep telling people who care to listen, anybody who tells you that this administration hasn't done well in infrastructure, particularly roads, that person is not being fair to himself. Let me not talk about being fair to the government in power. Let me give you an example. I've lived in Abia all my life. I go and I come back. And as at 2015, there was no single road in Abia that was motorable end to end. I stand to be corrected. But go to that town today, a whole lot of roads have been fixed end to end. I'll give you an example. Also, road that we are now celebrating. We had even third generation plantains growing on that road. It's not hidden. People who live there know it. So when they begin to criticize, I always tell them that the easiest thing to do is to criticize. That's the easiest thing. Even a parrot can sit down there and mimic you in criticism. But when it comes to really hard facts, let's face what is on ground. We have done well, but we are going to do better before 2023.
Okay, let's face the facts now, Honorable Commissioner. How many roads have you completed, how many roads has the Okezie Pazu's administration completed?
2 weeks ago, I gave a marching order to my permanent secretary to compile all the roads that have been completed, and he ought to present it to a management meeting we'll hold on Friday, where we'll now critically analyze and confirm that these are roads that have been completed. Before I gave him that instruction, there were 78 roads I had on the dashboard that had been completed by the Okezie administration.
78?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the one that I compiled based on what I have seen. And I now give them that matching order for them to check the files, because most of these things were done before I came in.
That's 78. The 78 roads will be amounting to how many kilometers?
Well, I don't have that offhand.
Okay.
I don't have that offhand. But this thing you're saying now reminds me of something I read on one particular Facebook, where the person was itemizing all the roads that were done in a cluster. And he said, if you check those roads, they come to 15 kilometers. And I laughed myself works. If they think that you measure the importance of road constructed by mileage, simply means that that person has a challenge. That person has a challenge. You don't check your achievement by extent of miles you have achieved. There is a road you will do that will be so economically transforming that single road can change the face of the town or of the state at the end of the day. So I can choose to do one rural road that will take about 40 kilometers without drains, without the standard that is required of a highway, and I'll tell you I've done 36 kilometers of road. It's not the same as when you see a road like Osusu Road, given its importance and the amount of money invested because it's rigid pavement, you begin to ask how many kilometers of roads. That's not an index for you to check the level of achievement. I'm not saying that the roads we have done, that they are not many.
So you're saying quality above quantity?
Precisely.
Interesting.
One, quality. One. Two, importance of the roads. There were some roads that were done in 1999 by 2001 they had all failed. They had all been washed away. So what was the point achieving those milestones if you can't keep them for a long time? But check all the roads that were done from 2015 until today. Only few of them have developed potholes. But those ones that were done with rigid pavement have never had any challenge since then. Which means if Okezie leaves by 2023, the next person coming in will start with other roads, not to go back and begin to rehabilitate the ones you have done already. So the important thing is quality, importance of the road, and making sure that you achieve the milestones you've set out for yourself.
It is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, right here on Flow 94.9 FM. And of course, this morning we're speaking with the Honorable Commissioner for Works in Abia State, Barrister Bob Ogu. And of course, we're looking at the policy thrust on infrastructural development, especially as we take a look at some important projects in the state. What is the status of Aba Owerri Road, Honorable Commissioner? A lot has been asked. We dropped a thread on our Facebook page before the start of the program, and I can tell you that more than 60% respondent on our Facebook page are asking the question, the status of the Aba Owerri Road.
Aba Owerri Road, the project is ongoing, and like I've told people a whole lot of times, Aba Owerri Road is one of the major arteries and exits, in exit and artery into the town, and it's a very important road. If you block that road for 1 hour, the deluge of traffic will create confusion in the town. So in doing Aba Owerri, you have to do it in phases, and in doing in phases, you try to construct some other roads that people can use to exit or access the town. So as we speak now, we have given a mandate for the contractor to complete from the rail line up to Brass Junction in the highest in the next 1 month. We'll have finished that segment. We've also given instruction to the contractor on handling the other segments of the town to make sure that from Omen Junction to Rema must be fixed within the next 1 month as well. It will now be left with a small stretch between Rema and Brass Junction, and those areas we haven't concluded some part of the drainage. It will also be attacked, so that we'll have a good stretch of the road from the flyover until you get to the motor park.
Interesting. Now let's go to some other issues on ground. The issue of the new government house in Umuahia. It's been talking point for the critics of the Okezekwazu's administration. We've had deadlines upon deadlines upon deadlines. What is the status of the government house? How soon are we moving into the government house? Is it possible before the end of this administration?
Before the end of this administration, definitely the governor will move into that place. But I won't tell you that it will be completed today or tomorrow. But before he leaves office, before the governor leaves office, he will operate from that particular office.
What is stalling the progress of the new government house?
Job is ongoing there right now. Nobody anticipated the challenges we had last year with COVID. All the projections we made, of course, they almost came to naught because of the COVID issue. We have now come back to a second wave. That thing affected the funding and finances of the government, that we just had to adjust and take priority projects first. But work is ongoing there now, and I know that before the end of this administration, the governor will operate from that government house.
Well, I'm really so interested in the new government house. The completion level, how many percentage are we as it stands now?
Well, there's one thing I don't do. I don't play with statistics.
Okay.
If I don't have the correct figures, I don't like giving figures I'm not sure about.
But I believe the job should have milestones. So maybe the first phase, the second phase, and the third phase.
Yes,
the completion.
When the project was started, it was expected it would have been completed within time. But when this administration came, and when I came on board too, I went with the commissioner for the governor set up a committee consisting of the commissioner for housing, works, finance, and two other persons. We met and we assessed the extent of work done, and we decided to phase it so that it will be completed in phases. The phase we are attacking now is the phase that once it is completed, the governor will start operating from that particular government house while we attack the other phases.
All right, I'm going to take reactions of our listener right now, both on the SMS line and also our Facebook page. In case you are wondering what is happening, it is the platform and it is the pinnacle of all discussions. We're having this conversation with the Honorable Commissioner for Works in Abia State, Barrister Bob Ogu, and we're extraying this administration's policy thrust on infrastructural development. Of course, we're looking at roads right now. We've talked much more on the roads in the state, and Eric Ogonna on our SMS line is saying the state government is beginning to show noticeable signs of infrastructural development, especially roads. But I wonder at the absence of bus shelters, known as bus stops, in and around Umuahia and its environs. Meanwhile, lets the governor or the government suspend the muted idea of an international airport for now. What will be your immediate reaction to Ugona's point of view?
Well, just to let him know that the governor put on hold the airport project and decided to use the funds to attack the roads that we're doing. Yes, bus stops are necessary. But I always tell people that if you look at the character of a town, you know the kind of facilities to provide. There are not too many buses supplying most of our towns. You have a lot of keke.
Okay.
You know, keke has been banned in a whole lot of states, but they are still here and they are still useful here. So the little money we have, instead of using it to concentrate on providing bus stops, we want to fix the roads first. When the roads are there, then you can begin to talk about the infrastructure you add on the road.
Interesting. So the idea of an airport has been muted for now.
Yes, it has been put on hold.
Now it brings to question: do we need an airport in Abia State?
That's a question that, for me, is a very simple thing to handle. If you look at the status of Abia State, particularly Aba as a commercial center, not just for Abia State, not just for the southeast, but you're talking about the whole of Nigeria. And if you assess some African Development Bank write-ups, Aba is rated as one of the prominent commercial NAF centers that we have in Africa. So for that kind of town, it is always important for you to have access by air, so you can come in and go out, bring in your goods and go out at any time. We really, really need it, but there has to be priorities. There are things you must have on ground first before you begin to talk about airport. That was why the governor looked at it. Instead of investing in an airport, let's keep it on hold for now and concentrate on providing the road infrastructure. After that, he will still handle the airport, I'm sure about.
Okay, let's talk about the status of our urban roads. Umuahia, the intra-road network, and of course, about the intra-road network. Recently, we've seen reconstruction and re-asphalting of some of the roads in Umuahia and also in Abia. And the question is, are you going to touch everywhere? What how have you been able to achieve that in terms of financing, and which other areas are we looking at, especially for those in Abia and also Umuahia?
Okay, Abia definitely has more challenges than Umuahia. Like I told you when we started, in Umuahia then you had fairly good roads. In Abia, there was no single road in that town that was motorable end to end. So Abia had more challenges.
Okay.
And Abia is also an important town. I'm not saying that Umuahia is not important. In terms of revenue generation, in terms of economy, Abia is on a different pedestal altogether. So if you fix the roads in Abia, if you fix Abia, then from there you can get resources to also attack different parts of the town, of the state. So a whole lot of things had to be done. If you go to, depends on where you stay, if you go to Ariara side, before the governor came, Fox Road was no more trouble. Let's face it. But the governor came and looked at Fox Road, awarded the contract. The contract is still ongoing. He has attacked that part of the town, Ariara end. From MCC, you can access Ariara from different, entries and exits now, which was not the case when he came in. The same thing has been done with the Crown Lands. If you go to the Crown Lands, it's difficult for you to find any pothole in Abia. If you go to Obo Hill area now, Obo Hill area has totally been transformed. That is the truth and nothing but the truth. From Obikabe Junction, you take Ukebu, you take Omoala, you take Ehere Road, you now get to Ebema area. That area has been fully transformed. We have now focused on the second aspect, which is the Milverton, Eziuku, Ojike. That set of road will also be commissioned by Friday this week.
Okay.
And we're also looking at Okigwe Road. We want to also reconstruct Okigwe Road, link it up with Eziuku Road, and that will take you to Azikiwe Road and then to Ungwa Road. And you also know that Ungwa Road is ongoing as we speak. Ohanko Road has never been assessed in a long time. The road is under serious attack right now. The same thing on Moma Road, we are kicking up on Moma Road in the next 1 or 2 weeks. People will see what will happen in that area. So a whole lot of things are happening in Abia. So is it happening in Umuahia as well. Anybody who has ever been to Umuahia before Kizipazu came will understand that Abia Road, was something else. But look at what is happening along Abia Road today. And our target is to make Abia Road one of the best roads end to end. And before the end of this year, I'm sure we would have achieved that milestone at the end.
Okay, beyond Abia Road and beyond some of those intra roads that you've worked on, what are your plans for Ishi Gate, the city center?
Well, Ishi Gate, the plans are on board. Of course, part of Ishi Gate now is the Abia Road that gets up to ShopRite. That side has been fixed. The other ones we're discussing with a particular contractor. We have made a proposal, and we are studying the whole proposal, and we're looking at also at the funding. So the truth is, it's just like every human being. Every human being will want to own his own house, duplex, ride the best of cars, send your children to the best of schools. But the funds are limited. It's also the same thing. There's no difference between a human being and a state. If we had all the funds, we would have done all these things at once. But since the funds are limited, that's why we're prioritizing, taking the most urgent and begin to go along that line. And if you look at the thing we talk about, development, development can never take place all over the place at the same time. It starts at certain centers and then begin to trickle down. So that's why we're taking these important ones, and once we finish with them, we'll also begin to allow the thing to trickle down to all the others.
How soon are we going to start seeing noticeable work at that axis, because some of the traders that were sent from that place to Ubani and other markets, they are waiting. They want to see what the government has in stock for that place. The reason they were moved away from the city center.
Well, like I said, we're working on that, and government is a process. Like I told you now, before you award a contract, there's a procedure you must follow. These things are not something you just they're not since you switch on the light and the light comes on. It's a process. The process is ongoing, and I assure you that we'll definitely get there.
All right. It is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, right here on Flow 94.9 FM. We're going to take more reactions on our Facebook page. We're presently streaming live visuals on what is happening in the studio. And when we return, we'll put more questions to the Commissioner for Works in Abia State, Honorable Barrister Bob Ogu, the Honorable Commissioner for Works in Abia State. Of course, we're looking at the infrastructure stock in this state. We've talked so much about roads. We're going to look at other issues, especially in the Ministry of Works. We've also looked at the awarding of contract, how the government does it in Abia State. It is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, right here on Flow 94.9 FM.
At Flow 94.9 FM, we've got conducive and well-secured environment for business, high-tech video studio, a state-of-the-art production studio. You can also listen live on www.flow949fm.com and watch our videos on YouTube at Flow FM TV. Flow 94.9 FM, not just radio, but a complete broadcasting house.
Well, thank you very much for staying tuned. It is still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, right here on Flow 94.9 FM, Wednesday edition. And I still have with me in the studio Honorable Commissioner for Works, Abia State, Barrister Bob Ogu. And we're looking at the infrastructural development in the state, talking about road projects and, of course, some signature projects in the state. We've talked about the government house, the new government house. Honorable Commissioner, let's talk about the OCCMA flyover. It's been a talking point for critics of the government, especially the opposition in the state, and they use it to criticize. I can remember in 2015, it was in 2019, during the election period. It was one of the major points used in criticizing the governor. And the governor came out then and said, well, we have issues with revenue, we have a dwindling revenue, and what we got then, what we usually get back in the day, is not the same thing today. And very soon, we will commission OCCMA flyover. What is the present situation? We want to know the present situation. How soon is that project going to be completed?
Yes, thank you for that particular question. That OCCMA flyover, a whole lot of people have raised questions and issues on the flyover, and in
fact, the governor is even aware that many persons call it center table. Yes, I can remember in one of his conversations with journalists this year.
That's the common thing they call it in Abba. But now they have also said it's no longer a center table, that the flyover is now taking shape. So the opinion of people about the flyover has changed, because I don't know when you went to Abba last. If you get to that place now, you'll see that a whole lot has happened. There are things people don't understand when it comes to flyover. If you look at the risers, our target was to make sure that we fill and compact the risers before the end of January. But if you are familiar with construction of flyovers, you'll see that if you're filling the risers at every given height, you compact. It's not just filling, going there and filling with sand, with red mud until it gets filled up. No. You must fill and then you compact. And when they were doing it, it rained. And anytime it rains, the soil becomes too wet that you can achieve any reasonable result. So you have to slow down. In fact, if it rains now, you give it 2 or 3 days for the soil the moisture to reduce before you begin to move them to the risers and begin to also fill and compact. But anybody who goes there now will see that a whole lot has happened. I am sure that in the next 2-3 weeks, they would have completed the whole process of filling and compacting the risers.
Interesting, but those are technical terms, Honorable Commissioner. You will agree with me. As an engineer, I'm not an engineer, so it takes an engineer to understand those things. What people want to see is, when is this going to be constructed? You know, many persons will come and compare what is happening concerning flyover in neighboring states with Abia State. Some persons will say, look at the other states, they've completed 3 flyovers. This other state, they just commissioned another flyover, and Abia State is on 1 flyover. So what will be your explanation to these set of persons?
I always tell people that every state has its own priorities, its own challenges. All the money we've used in all the roads that we're doing, if we concentrate on that flyover, we would have finished the flyover. But the question is, that's a federal highway that is in a very bad state. Even if you complete the flyover, will it change the traffic situation in that place within the period? So the governor had to move funds to other more important objects while not abandoning the flyover. The flyover is ongoing, and I strongly believe that between now and the next 2 months, we would have completed the filling, stone-based. Allow the stone base to stay for some time. Let rain beat on it while vehicles ply it. When it stabilizes well, then you can asphalt at the end of the day. So that flyover will be completed this year, that I'm sure about.
This year?
Yes.
Month?
Well, you see, I can't tell you 1 month or 2 months. Remember what I said, that if it rains, if it rains, you have to allow the soil moisture to reduce before you begin to move the red earth to that place and begin to compact. If it starts raining now, there's nothing anybody can do about it. And with this climate change, you can't predict what will happen anytime. So I can't tell you it will be today or tomorrow. But before the end of this dry season window, anybody who goes there will see that we'll get very close to using the flyover if we don't start using it before the end of this dry season window.
Interesting. Honorable Commissioner, just before we get reactions on the phone lines and also our Facebook page and other platforms, I would like you to speak concerning a particular agency. I'm not sure if the agency is under your jurisdiction, which you will let us know this morning. The Abia State Road Maintenance Agency. That agency has been in the news for odd reasons. We journalists were even tired of seeing the stories. Every time they come out to say we've been owed 32 months salaries, we've been neglected by the government, and yet we have caterpillars, we have heavy equipment that are working, and we're generating revenue. So what is the situation in that agency? Is the agency under your jurisdiction?
Yes, the agency...
is a parastata, I believe.
Well, Abroma is one of the MDAs. It's not strictly a parastatal. I'll prefer to use an agency that ought to be supervised by the Ministry of Works. And yes, the government gave them the equipment they need, but they had issues, they had challenges. The challenges are with funds. I don't know whether they thought the government will fund them while you have the equipment. But the idea of government is to establish Abroma to stand on its own. You've given them equipment, it's for them to generate jobs and even send money to the government. It's just like a private person. If you give me the kind of equipment you give to Abroma, you can be sure I'll begin to make money, and I will even pay for those equipment. So the government invested heavily, expecting that the government will make a return on its investment. But when that was not happening, the governor now said, look, we have to restructure Abroma, make it a growing concern, make it a business, where the government and private persons will have shares, and let them begin to bid for jobs, both from government and private sector, and stand on their own. So a committee was set up. We have done the paperwork, and we're in the process of unbundling Abroma, making it, a strictly juristic business person that can stand on its own, do its business, not depend on government to pay salaries, but it will now be making returns to the government from the profits it will make at the end of the day. So that is what is happening in Abroma right now.
So within this period, what is stopping them from getting paid? I mean, those workers that are clamoring for payment of salaries, despite those caterpillars working.
The caterpillars are still there with them. All the earth-moving equipment they have are still there with them. What stops them from getting jobs, doing those jobs and paying their workers?
Are they getting the jobs?
It's their business to get those jobs. It's their business to get the
I
jobs.
think you will be aware if they get the jobs or they don't.
Well, I know they get some jobs.
Okay.
I see them doing grading for some persons, and I've always told them for any job you get, try to make sure that you charge reasonably. Don't go beyond what the normal contractor will charge.
Okay.
Make it reasonable. Generate funds. They don't give us the funds. They spend the funds, so they ought to pay their workers and also maintain the equipment that they have. It's strange that an agency as big as Abroma will have those equipment, and you're still expecting the government to pay your workers.
So they make money. They generate funds, according to what you said now, because you've seen some of those heavy earth equipment move out to work.
Yes.
So it's a very big question. I'm still trying to connect the dots. Do they work for the government also? And so some of these road constructions and re-asphalting that the government has done, especially in Umuahia and Abia.
Yes, they sent a proposal to us on because the kind of equipment they have now are the one they can use for just road maintenance.
Okay.
In terms of you cut, you fill, then they will bring an asphalt from somewhere, and then they have small rollers.
Okay.
They can do those kind of jobs. They have brought a proposal, and we're looking at the proposal they brought. But we told them, wait, let us conclude the process of transforming Abroma. If we transform Abroma and it becomes a growing concern, they will now know that they don't depend on government for their funding, that they have to generate their own funds. They will go out and scouting for jobs. Every government contract, they have a right to bid. And if they are the best bidder, of course, it will be given to them for them to do. And the government expects that when they begin to make profit, that they will also remit some money to some funds to the government.
All right. It is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, right here on Flow 94.9 FM. It is the flow of God's own state. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll throw the lines open, and you have the opportunity to ask the Honorable Commissioner questions concerning infrastructure in Abia State. The lines are open, but I will take calls right after this timeout. It is Flow 94.9 FM.
At Flow 94.9 FM, we've got conducive and well-secured environment for business. High-tech video studio, a state-of-the-art production studio. You can also listen live on www.flow949fm.com and watch our videos on YouTube at Flow FM TV. Flow 94.9 FM, not just radio, but a complete broadcasting house.
All right, thank you very much for staying tuned. The lines are 0808 182 6949 or 0811 605 2949. You can also drop messages on 0906 510 8289. It's the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions, right here on Flow 94.9 FM. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Oni.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Honorable Commissioner for Works.
Good morning, my brother.
Who I'm calling from Omaya.
You're welcome.
Honorable Commissioner, I must thank you for coming on air to clear some issues.
You're welcome, my brother.
Like I always say, I know that personally, I have confidence in him. I know that he will never disappoint Abia by the grace of God. For 2023, you hand over to another person. Then let me start with the issue of Abroma. I still believe that there are secondary staff in that Abroma. And secondly, I pray that the government of the state will give them all the arsenal that they needed, because when you mention about there's some equipment that they cannot, I expected them to be involved in this renovation of or the asphalting of street roads in Omaya and Abba. So if they don't have such equipment that they're supposed to use for the of Omaya and Abba, so I'm praying that government of Abia State will look into it. And secondly, they should into secondary staff and send it to their parent
all right, quickly wrap up the third. So
then finally, the road that OKZ is building, he's not just like other governors that can build 700 and 800 roads. When you come tomorrow, you see it's rainfall, you see them some state, the roads will be washed away. I believe that he's giving us the dividend of roads that will last for years.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Let's move on to the next call. Yes, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
You're welcome.
Michael, good morning, and the Honorable Commissioner, I'm greeting you.
Thank you very much, my brother. How are you?
Fine, I am Henry Enyoko. I'm calling from Mumogelentiga in Isialangwa North.
You're welcome, Mr. Henry.
Honorable Commissioner, that the governor is doing very well in the road infrastructure is no doubt.
Thank you.
That he has excelled equally in very many other areas, there is no doubt. Nobody, no particular government can please the people 100%. I am not in government, but what I do know is that government that will depend on the fund it gets. I don't want to go much into that. I want to ask you of one particular project at Ntega.
You have less than 30 seconds, please.
Okay.
Okay, that very dry seaport. Honorable Commissioner, what is the position of that dry port in Ntega? Thank you.
Thank you for your
My
question.
brother, let's address that issue of that dry port that we are talking about. The member representing Isialangwa North has been pushing and pushing and pushing. It is a federal project. The state has done what it ought to do on its own part. It's for the federal government to come and execute it. But it will not surprise you to know that one that is the same kind of design that we have in Ntega, they have another one in the one up north, and that one is already functional. So I wouldn't know why the federal government is hesitant in getting on with that thing. But the government, the Abia state government has pushed, Honorable Ginger has pushed. I also know that Chief Regan Ofoma has also pushed for that particular project. A whole lot of Abians have pushed, and I don't know why the federal government is still dragging its feet to do that particular project.
All right, on the Facebook, on our Facebook page, Eric Bassi says, "Good morning, Honorable Commissioner and Speaker in the House. I want to give you kudos. You as barrister re-engineering Abia is a good thing and cheering, but since there is no enough fund for more and more contracts are awarded, how about the uncompleted projects in the state, like the potholes in the state road and other infrastructure, including housing estates, Ishieke and the government house left lopsided? How sure these projects are completed to spice up the hope of Abians as regards to benefit of dividend of this administration?" That's on the Facebook page, Honorable Commissioner.
Thank you
housing estate there. You've answered
yes, okay.
Others, but the housing estate, Ishieke.
Okay, housing estate, the Honorable Commissioner for Housing will be in a better position to handle that.
All right. All right. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael. My name is I am calling from Amiko. Good morning, my Honorable Commissioner.
Thank you.
The Honorable Commissioner, there is a particular road that leads from Omaro, Umokuru, Wamesi, down to Omo, but the contract for that road was awarded about 3 or 4 years ago, and the work started. In fact, it was started about only 2 or 3 schools. Then the project was abandoned. Since that time, that road, I'm telling you, that road that leads to more, which along the government area is a no-go area. Nobody has talked about it. What exactly happened?
Yes, that road was awarded to the safe. The contractor, it was awarded to the safe. Like I said, when I came on board, we had too many contracts, so we had to prioritize, and we had to use certain verifiable indices to decide which one to do and which one not to do. We are coming down the line. I'm sure we'll address the circumstances of that road very soon.
All right, still on the Facebook page, Arua Uka says, "Good morning. Please ask him why they continue to delay completion and continue to delay completing the Abia road." That has been answered. Also, specifically notify the commissioner that the road T in World Bank in Umuahia Housing Assemblies of God Seventh-day Adventist Church is one of the worst roads in Umuahia, and the residents of the area have been complaining and nothing has been done. Thank you. I'm pleased to thank the government for his efforts to rebuild Abia of our dream. That's coming from Sir Ike on the Facebook page.
Well, Sir Ike, thank you for your comment. Let us not pretend the government cannot fix all the roads. We'll do the ones that are urgent. The ones that are not so urgent, we'll also see how we can involve the local government to at least do some filling and grading to make them passable until when the time will come for them to be addressed as well.
Hello, good morning to you.
Hello.
Please move away from your radio set. You're welcome.
Yeah, well done. I'm running out of the radio. My commissioner and all of you in the studio, I greet all of you.
Thank you so much.
I love Abia State government, not only the governor and you, the commissioner. I beg, put more effort. Working or paying the workers is another campaign.
Okay.
Whether the governor is not campaigning again or not contesting again, let two people help those that will contest in 2023 by doing what will favor everybody, more especially on the roads. And one beg for this from Obakala Junction to Obakala to Mbise Road. Try to do something there because of me. I used to make use of that road when I'm going to my in-laws or to Abba. I beg.
All right. Thank you
important
for your contribution. Honorable Commissioner will respond to that now.
That the road from Obakala to Mbise, we have Omopara Ring Road we're doing that will bust out on that road. When we finish it, we'll now try to look at that and see what is feasible.
Okay, just before we wrap up the program this morning, Honorable Commissioner for Works, Abia State Barrister Bob Ogu, can you name some signature roads undertaken by this administration just before we step out of the studio?
Okay, the truth is that the governor has a vision. That vision is to transform the road infrastructure of Abia State. We have started, and we assure you that we are going to get there. There are some roads that are already ongoing, which will be signature roads. One is Port Harcourt Road. In the next 1 or 2 weeks, the contractor handling Port Harcourt Road will be back on site, and he won't leave until that road is completed. There is the Numa project. The biggest challenge we have in Aba is taking water out of these roads. There's a Numa project that will move the storm water out of these roads from Port Harcourt Road down to Aba River. That is one of the best projects, one of the projects that, when it's completed, will bring transformation to water management and wastewater management in Aba. And anything you do without moving the water out of the roads, those rates will fail with time, because water runoff is not good friends with asphalt. So those projects will move water out of the roads, and definitely those roads will last. Almost all the roads that OKZ Bazo is doing are roads that will outlive his administration. And let me conclude by saying this. I don't ask you to believe me or to disbelieve me, but 2023, you tell me whether you believe me or you disbelieve me, that OKZ Bazo will leave office as the best we've had in terms of infrastructural development, particularly roads.
All right, Barrister Bob Ogu, Honorable Commissioner for Works, Abia State, thank you very much for being part of the platform today, Wednesday, the 20th day in the month of January 2021 on Flow 94.9 FM. We do appreciate you, and we do appreciate that you heeded to our call. And of course, we will keep a tab on some of these issues raised, and of course, return to you for update. Thank you very much.
Michael, let me also say this. Your station is fine. You have wonderful voice. Just like your voice doesn't reflect how big you are. I was expecting to see one huge man. I didn't know he was this kind of a slim person. So I thank you. And the people you have in your studio, very warm, receptive people. Your station is fine. Anytime you invite me, you can be sure I'll be here.
Thank you very much. We do
ask God
appreciate
to bless all of us.
And many thanks to the producer, Samson Eze. My name is Michael Oni.